If the only sound of a goldfish you'd ever heard was something like this. A deep melody, slightly sorrowful, yet full of mystery. Then, if it were the call of a pliosaur, I believe you definitely wouldn't think that way. Scientists have most likely reconstructed the sound of the pliosaur. A low, radar-like hum. This sound could travel through seawater and trigger resonance in the bones of other animals. That came from its enormous lung capacity and its thick, crocodile-like neck and torso. Before 1841, before the pliosaur was formally named, its fossils were popularly referred to as a monster from the sea. When you look at its teeth, the hair on your body rises involuntarily because they are just too sharp, and its formal name came about like this. It was named by Richard Owen, the famous British paleontologist. In 1841, he studied a batch of fossils discovered in England. These skulls looked very much like crocodiles, but at the same time, not quite like crocodiles. After analyzing them, he believed this was an extinct marine reptile that had never before been scientifically described, and he officially named it the pliosaur. This work also made the plesiosaur the first member of its family, Plesiosauridae, to be recognized by the scientific community. Since the establishment of Plesiosauridae, about 31 species have joined its ranks. Together, they existed for 139 million years, from the late Triassic to the late Cretaceous. Their distribution covered the waters of every continent except Antarctica, Asia, and Africa. What is terrifying is that their body length ranged from 10 meters to 18 meters. When a body like that lightly glided through the ocean, it could stir up enormous waves. You may not have a clear sense of what 18 meters means. That is about as tall as a 6-story building, and their weight ranged from 10 tons to 45 tons. That 45 tons mostly refers to a particular pliosaur. Although its body length was only about 13 meters, its weight may have reached 45 tons. With bodies this huge, they needed an enormous amount of energy every day. So how did they hunt? First of all, their teeth. Their teeth had a triangular shape, and that shape wasn't simply because they liked math. It was an evolved structure used to directly cut into prey. Their skulls were also especially unusual. Basically, every pliosaur skull accounted for about 25% of the entire body length, and beneath those massive skulls were dozens of large, tightly packed, highly serrated teeth with very obvious edges. This allowed the predator to easily tear huge chunks of flesh from its prey, causing forced amputations and massive bleeding, leading to shock and death. And it wasn't just the sharpness of the teeth that made every bite so deadly. The pliosaur's teeth also had a very unique angle. When the lower jaw closed, each tooth overlapped with the others, creating a chopping effect or a giant scissors-like cutting effect. This was not just a simple bite. It was a killing blow. The design of the teeth alone likely meant that even if they didn't swim very fast, the moment they made contact with you, you would still be slashed open. It was purely designed for overkill. Simply put, they didn't need speed to increase their lethality. A single mouthful of those specialized teeth was already enough to kill prey. And as for their bite force, you might think it came only from the massive skull. But that's not entirely true. They had thick necks with extremely powerful muscles. The neck muscles and jaw muscles worked together. The robust neck provided solid support for the giant head, allowing the biting muscles in the head to contract with full force without worrying that the neck would be sprained or dislocated by the massive reactive force. Overall, the pliosaur's neck was like a force amplifier. It concentrated the power of the entire body into its bite, making that bite not only deadly, but brutally destructive. And this was the ultimate secret that allowed it to become the ultimate overlord of the Jurassic seas. But early scientists once claimed that the pliosaur's bite force may have exceeded 16 tons. Later research, however, found that this figure was absolutely exaggerated. More detailed studies showed that at maximum force, its rear teeth could generate up to 49,000 newtons of force, about 3 times the bite force of a saltwater crocodile. But don't think that without an astronomically huge bite force number, it couldn't dominate the ocean. Because judging from the design of its entire head, it simply didn't need that much bite force at all. In the Jurassic seas, there was no marine creature that could rival them. Basically, whether it was large marine animals or heavily defensive marine animals, they ate them all. Most importantly, they mainly preyed on marine reptiles. This included ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, because hunting these large animals allowed them to obtain the energy they needed each day more quickly. They did not hunt through brute force alone. They had a bit of intelligence as well. Scientists also found that pliosaurs had keen senses. Their vision and sense of smell were likely the most developed. This enabled them to track prey in low visibility waters, smell carcasses from miles or kilometers away, and have underwater vision 10 times better than that of humans. The title of Ocean Overlord really was no exaggeration. Besides being deadly, pliosaurs were also unexpectedly tough. Although they had no obvious external armor, their skeletons were extraordinarily dense and strong. Their torsos in particular were extremely sturdy, allowing them to endure and recover from astonishing amounts of damage. This means their bones may have had very strong healing abilities, and scientists estimate that they may have lived for more than 100 years. Such a long lifespan gave each individual an extended period of dominance. But what was bound to come still came. About 147 million years ago, in the late Jurassic, right around the transition between the Jurassic and the Cretaceous, the global marine environment underwent drastic changes. For example, falling sea levels caused shallow coastal habitats to disappear. Ocean currents changed. Their food supply decreased. This restructuring of the ecosystem may have fundamentally shaken the pliosaur's foundation for survival, causing them to gradually head toward extinction. This process was not instantaneous. Rather, over a very long period of time, their populations were no longer able to continue. Or do you think they were eliminated by something else? In short, in the oceans, 150 million years ago, if this sound appeared in some corner of the sea, then everything around it would have fallen silent. Echoing in that area would only be this sound. It represented fear. It also represented a bite force of 5 tons. And even more, it represented explosive, short-range speed. It could reach your side in an instant. The pliosaur, a deep-sea grim reaper that lived 150 million years ago.